Hi, my name is Lea Ebeling. I'm an anthropologist and master student of modern South and Southeast Asian studies at Humboldt University Berlin. And I'm also an illustrator, mural, and comic artist. My future project is to combine sciences and arts by transferring social science publications and research findings into easy language, pictures, and comics for online and print publications to make them more accessible for people without academic background. Today, I would like to introduce my research on the German concept of Weltschmerz, which roughly translates to world-weariness. In this video, I'll display some of the empirical findings from the study through drawings to exemplify my theoretical considerations. The research was conducted in collaboration with two other students as a small-scale ethnographic pilot study for the MA seminar Political Emotions Between Solidarity and Polarization, held in the winter term 2020-2021 by Dr. Rosa Castillo at the Institute for Asian and African Studies at Humboldt University Berlin. The idea for this research was sparked by personal observations among our friends and social contacts. We noticed the term Weltschmerz being frequently used to dismiss discontent about the global effects of capitalism, thus functioning as the ultimate period to political topics. Following these observations, our research question was: how does awareness for the neoliberal world order affect emotional distress and solidarity among young adults in Berlin and Budapest? To answer this question, we showed the participants a 2020 year review featuring catastrophic sceneries that would most likely trigger Weltschmerz and asked them to respond to it in a medium of their choice, for example, text, voice message, or drawing, in order to capture their emotions. Subsequently, we interviewed them on their responses. In the following, I'll briefly go through our results. Weltschmerz is defined as an unease, distress, or sadness felt about the inadequacy of the world and a resulting individual helplessness about one's inability to change it. In the words of one participant, it feels like carrying the weight of the world. However, Weltschmerz is not a single feeling, but a complex set of emotions. It includes anger, grief, guilt, helplessness, shame, paralysis, numbness, and surrender. As you can see in this exemplary visualization of our empirical data, the individuals were greatly affected by the material on a personal level and felt an urge to change something. However, we can also see that productive emotions, such as anger and sadness, are overpowered by guilt and shame, which ultimately leaves the individual in a powerless state from which they retreat by shutting themselves off. The conclusion of this is that solidarity and the need to take action are numbed and muffled through Weltschmerz, because the world system seems to be without alternative and imaginaries of change fail. The reason for this is that neoliberal capitalism is a disembodied universal concept which can neither be addressed nor easily fought, because there's no single actor to blame. Instead, people themselves acting as neoliberal subjects reproduce and perpetuate the existing world order in their everyday actions. Ethical neoliberal subjects are defined as feeling largely alone in an atomized society. Thus, they think and act as if anything comes from their own personality, their thinking, power, and ability to work, and who define themselves in terms of competition, productivity, and profitability. In a society like this, the individual is made responsible for resolving the moral and structural failings of the system. So the question is, how to create alternative imaginaries and counter social atomization? Our first step to this is the decolonization of knowledge. If people were educated from decolonial perspectives, they would understand where neoliberal capitalism comes from historically, socially, and epistemologically. Like that, it would lose its disembodiment and instead become situated. Historical and contemporary figures would emerge to actually be opposed and held responsible. Non-Western epistemologies also provide alternatives to the current world order, as well as strategies of resistance, which could inspire the clue and hopelessness of white people to take action. A second step would be decolonial self-reflection. Weltschmerz is not merely based on egoistic feelings, but is a symptom of a period of conflict and transition. As we could see in the chronology of feelings included in Weltschmerz, it was guilt which turned the people away from compassionate emotions such as anger, care, and sadness. Audre Lorde notes that guilt is a response to one's own actions or lack of action, which can easily turn into defensiveness and the ultimate protection of changelessness. As such, it is often preserved by a refuge of silence, which can be overcome by talking about it to others. People need to face their shameful feelings, which is a difficult task because it requires honest and probably painful emotional work, as well as the readiness to abolish existing privileges. Furthermore, people need to acknowledge that they cannot escape the negative emotions about their privileged position in the current world order, because white innocence can't be constructed on the grounds of a colonial history which can't be reconciled. But dealing with guilt can help to recognize solidarity not as a self-affirming practice, but as an uneasy, reserved, and unsettled matter that neither reconciles present grievances nor forecloses future conflict. It is a radical rethinking of the self. Additionally, sharing this process will create a sense of connection among people, as they will realize that Weltschmerz is a collective emotion which is in place to maintain a status quo. Knowing that they are not alone, they might be collectively able to focus on more productive emotions, such as anger and their discontent with an unjust world order. In this sense, Weltschmerz could become a unifying power. But in the end, decolonization should not stop apologetically on the cognitive level, but should be taken into action. In the dialogue with people from other epistemological backgrounds, white people have the chance to reflect on their own positionality and to get inspired for taking action. Furthermore, they will feel less atomized by exchanging knowledge, joining forces, and building meaningful relationships. In this sense, Weltschmerz can be perceived as a growing awareness about the state of the world, as a unifying set of emotions, and ideally as a transformative power which inspires action. Because if there's one remedy to Weltschmerz, it is action. Thank you for listening.